Hey, everybody. Welcome to XO Joe. It's Monday night. Thank you for joining me. We're going to get going live here in a couple minutes. Axis is running a little bit behind. He's just restarting his computer. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. Again, this is XO Joe, a.k.a. Joe Exotic, and this is Experience, Strength, and Hope on your Discourse Syndicate Monday night. Thank you for joining us, and we'll be right back.
Be sure to hit that subscribe button. Be sure to like, be sure to share, be sure to comment. Say hey. Say hey. Say hey. Say hey. Say hey. Motherfucking jackpot. We still jackpot, bitch.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Got a great show for everyone tonight. We have a very special guest, Axis Alive, coming on. Axis is here now, so we'll get going in a couple minutes. I apologize for the audio. I don't have a mic boom for my mic, so I'm trying to keep it as steady as I can with everybody. Purple, how you doing, brother? Good to see you. It's great to see you out in Vegas. Nardo for the win. How you doing, brother? Yeah, Axis Alive. He's 7 feet tall, right? That's the rumor. T-Bird, what's going on, brother? Hex Live, I know you're out there. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. So I have a very special guest, Axis Alive. I'm going to bring him on now. Axis has no camera, so we just got audio. Axis, how's it going, brother?
What's going on, guys? What's up, Joe? Thanks for inviting me on.
Absolutely, brother. How you doing?
Been all nervous all day thinking about what am I going to say tonight on your show. But here I am, and I think I'm ready to roll. I've been thinking a little bit about some of our discussion topics. So
cool.
You just kind of fire away, and I'll hopefully have something interesting to say.
Yeah, well, it's a show about experience, strength, and hope. So I don't really have any questions for anybody. What we do is we share, past experiences, overcoming obstacles, failures. Basically, what this stems from is, I'm sure you've seen before. I know, we've discussed it. The trials and tribulations that we've been through before we get here into Hex, and it was a pleasure to meet you out in Las Vegas. So it's really cool,
as well, man. Yeah,
thank you, brother. Thank you. Yeah, it was cool to get to know you very little bit. We didn't get to spend a lot of time together, but
I like to keep myself kind of under the radar a little bit, but you know that.
Yeah.
So it was awesome, man. Getting to meet everybody and getting to put in my little 2 cents with a lot of these people I've been watching for a couple of years now. Cool. Getting to meet all these big faces, it was pretty cool. So
this really, Axis, this show is really like about everybody getting to know you. So sure. if you want to just tell us a little bit about your background, about growing up, what life was like, and
oh wow, yeah. I was originally from like a small town in the Midwest, growing up, and I don't know. I would say I was generally quite antisocial, kind of nerded out and liked my computer stuff, and was like nervous around like large automated vehicles and stuff because I had a few crazy little like car crashes and ATV crashes when I was a little kid, and so I always had this like anxiety around like big large objects. So it just felt like, I don't know. There was definitely early on in my life, things were very nerve-wracking, or I was very skittish on a lot of things, and I always wanted to play things the safe route. And as I got older, as I came into my own, which actually it took a long time, man, and I think that's going to be one of the keystones of talking tonight is how long it really does take to pull your head above water, and you know, all the different elements that plays into it, whether it be your network, your family, your job, good opportunities that you may have took or didn't take. But I mean, as far as like growing up, I grew up in a very small town of a few hundred people, and so my experience was of very few faces. You know, grew up with like the same 30 or 40 faces,
Cool.
and then you go off to college, and then you know everything kind of expands from there. So there was a lot of like small ideas in the beginning, and then when you go off, you start getting new ideas brought. Or in my case, when I got to college, there was a lot of new ideas coming, and so like it allowed me to like rattle the cage of what I thought reality was in its entirety, you know, and then learned a lot more about the possibilities that, you know, the things that you think you know, especially as a kid, you know, because like kids think they know everything, right?
That's for sure.
And it
Yeah.
can take you down, and it could take you down like a road that you think you're on the right path for so long, and then I don't know, and pans out differently for different people, but in my case, it was an ego check. So what up, Wales? What up, Sarah?
What's going on? Where are you seeing these guys? I'm not seeing them yet.
Oh, I've seen them on the YouTube chat.
Oh, okay. I got a little delay over here with the StreamYard one. Cool.
Okay.
Welcome everybody. Yeah, I grew up in a similar place where you know, very small town, about 100 people per class, and you know, you're very tight with everybody, and maybe not realizing it at the time, you know, until you kind of get away from it for a little while, and then I know me, I took things for granted, and the same thing. It was an ego trip for me, you know. I was in and out of the small town, back and forth, and that's you know, it's was there stuff to do where you grew up, Axis, or was it like, I looking
Not
back on it now
really.
as an adult, you
Not
know,
There wasn't really a lot to do where I grew up. So if you didn't fit into like a small mold of either an athlete, like my hometown wasn't nothing about academics. It was all about small town athlete, and it was, you know. So yeah,
oh,
there was. I mean, you either that or you worked in a cheese factory or you worked on a farm.
yeah,
And I didn't blend in with any of that. I was just like a alien. You know what I mean? Like I think a lot of us are like that. You know, where we're caught between time. You know what I mean? In a sense, like you know, you didn't feel like you quite fit with anyone your age, and maybe you didn't really quite fit in with the adults either because they still didn't think the same as you. So but what that did was like it was like tending to fertile soil, so to speak.
yeah,
Is like allowing everything to be set, the stage to be set, so that you'd be in position for like something much bigger. You know, like what a lot of the community members are experiencing right now. Because there's a lot of like profound experience happening among Hexicans over the last like 6 months, even basically since the ride started, really. You know, like we're all going through life changing experiences with family, you know, as a consequence to being in Hex with everything, with their jobs, with their families, with. So it's like it's a really exciting time because we're all meeting new people, we're all sharing ideas, and you know, there's a lot of volatility in our lives in like a good sort of way. So it super exciting that way. I like seeing looking out and seeing that amongst the community. Everyone's kind of like growing at their own little pace. And I said to people in Vegas that one of the most exciting things was just getting to meet everybody before we all, you know, in quote unquote, made it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, right. That's pretty cool.
yeah. Sarah Gross, definitely no, definitely you're from Wisconsin or Minnesota. Oh, the accent. Yeah, man. I don't know. What are your kind of what's some of your experiences from like, you know, your early years? Like, how did that form you and get you to here? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I grew up in a small town as well. So I was born in Hartford, Connecticut, and baby of 6 children. So I have 2 older brothers, 3 older sisters. All of them are a lot older too. So the next closest to me in age is 10 years, and then 7 more after that. So 17 and 10 years. So they're 2 closest to me. Uh, very big family, Italian, Irish. Uh, Moved to the countryside up in New Hampshire, and grew up there and played sports as well. I thought at the time like there wasn't really a lot to do, but looking back on it, it was a paradise. It had beautiful lakes and mountains, the seasons. It was absolutely incredible to grow up there. I took it for granted because I had not much to compare it to. I didn't appreciate it, and we were pretty well off too as a family, given I was so young compared to everybody. My father was very well. He was very far into his career, right? So he was already a business owner when I was a little boy, and by the time I was 9, he had a thriving business in Hartford. So we never really wanted for anything. Excuse me, there's the mic. Sorry, guys. Hope that wasn't too loud. So I grew up in New Hampshire with my mom, just kind of like almost like an only child. And my dad would come up on the weekends, played sports up there in New Hampshire, and baseball, soccer. Started playing hockey when I was about 12, which hockey was incredible for me because I was really acting out all the time, and I like to get physical. Me and my buddies used to love wrestling and never never backed down from a fight that I can remember. So even as a little boy, I used to love just getting physical. So once I found hockey, that was a great release. And being up in New Hampshire, Connecticut, New England has really strong competitive athletics regarding hockey in particular. So I was really extremely lucky. I grew up with a silver spoon in my mouth, and um, all my friends, pretty much the same. Even the kids that didn't have a lot up in that area, it's a pretty well-to-do area. Um, Seemed to everybody had enough. We didn't really have homeless people up in New Hampshire, so it was a little bit of a culture shock compared to the rest of the country. And I just loved trying to get attention. I was being the baby and not really ever fitting in when I was younger and kind of having a chip on my shoulder. I used to have a little extra weight on me growing up. So
Me too.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that
So
was one of
I
the big struggles was for me too was the weight. And just like dealing with all the mental side effects of being overweight. One of the most overlooked things about it.
yeah, it was tough. My sister, my next oldest to me, she was very close. Kind of raised me like a mother sometimes. She was brutal with me, with my weight, and it's funny the way Richard's body shape is because as a man, I got some man boobs myself over here that I've always been very self conscious of, and it's kind of cool to see Richard, and see the way he accepts it, and it's a body
Oh yeah,
dysmorphia
dude, that
thing.
is so good, dude. I
Yeah,
love that. It's funny.
yeah, it's a
Yeah, I
trip,
mean,
Go
I
ahead.
suffer from a little bit of the same disorder, so
Yeah,
too
yeah, it's
much
weird.
false soaps or something. I don't know. For
Too
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 many
much.
years.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know what the hell.
So
When
I go
when
ahead.
you're lifting weights, so I bet you can build them up, build out your pecs all right, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
go to work out for about a week, and I feel like I'm a giant. So I don't,
Yep.
I don't work out
Same.
very much, but
We should get back in it, dude. That would be awesome.
yeah, for sure.
You know what
This
I mean?
community is inspiring for that. It started with Ski
Oh, for
Cat and
sure.
Hexo, and then I get into taking better care of myself physically as well, and I feel great. Being sober, getting some sun. I'm down Florida. I just got hit back down here again, so got sun the past couple days, and life is pretty good. So I
Florida's beautiful.
yeah,
Got a lot
yeah,
of friends
Florida,
moving down there right now.
nice. Yeah, you should come check it out. I don't really know what other states are so friendly right now, and with all the tax legislation
Florida,
happening, I
Florida's good. I think Texas is pretty good, right?
yeah, here
Wyoming's nice, I think.
Wyoming and Delaware and Florida, and then Texas. You're right. I think I would imagine only because bringing all the Bitcoin mining equipment there, I would think that they're doing something right.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
so
interesting with all that regulation stuff that's going on right now, huh?
yeah, it's a trip. I really, to be honest with you, I try not to pay a lot of attention. I was asking, Randy Hilarski was on stream last night. I was asking in the stream, like, what can we do? I check out Wales to hear what he has to say. I know Richard called for us to be active. I'm not active. First of all, I didn't make any phone calls. I don't know that they would help. Someone like Richard, I've never really heard him say something that I didn't wholeheartedly agree with until now. And then I hear Wales, and I certainly respect Wales's opinion. I sort of feel exactly the same way as Wales. And I'm going to paraphrase because I don't know exactly how he feels, but my interpretation is just that it's a waste of our time to really be doing anything, care about it, talk about it, because there's nothing that any of us can do. So I don't know how to feel about all this, and it's a lot. We're all coming into some pretty decent money now, and wouldn't you know it, now is when this happens. So it's going to be interesting going forward. What do you think about everything that's happening? Do you follow it? You pay much attention?
I do listen to the prominent community members about this stuff, and I get a little bit come across on my Twitter feed.
Right.
As far as like digging into the actual legislation itself, I don't do that. I don't dabble in that. Mostly on the premise that if U.S. policy starts to negatively impact me, I'm going to do what's best for me. So if that means starting an LP or LLC in a jurisdiction that's helpful, then yeah, I would do that, or I would move to a location that would be. And so in that regard, I don't know why the U.S. would push such strict guidelines like that if it means they're going to push innovation away. To me, the U.S. is its own stumbling block in the whole financial revolution, because they had that financial elite privilege for so long, or the United States has had that for so long that I think that we got to get a grip on the changing times, and just people who are still here in America that want the American ideal to go forward need to come together and allow this innovation to happen and not stifle it in any way, because this country's been hollowed out over a 30 to 50 year period of time in a lot of ways. I don't know how deep you want to dig on that, but if nobody pulls their head out of the sand and does something to make sure that we can stay competitive, then we got a problem. And I tend to think this is just an intuition, is that there are elite classes of U.S. citizens that are privy to certain things in government or corporate America that have intel on and an edge on the entire world on their area of expertise. The problem is that all that innovation and brain power doesn't filter down through to the consumer. It gets caught up in regulatory stuff like this, or it gets caught up in patents, where where one company will buy out a game-changing innovation, and then it'll sit on a shelf because it's competitive with an existing infrastructure or product. So I mean, there's just a lot of gatekeeping going on inside the actual economy itself, because take cable TV, for instance. Cable TV started with, was everything, or it's probably started with antenna, then to cable. And that was it became a huge Goliath in the space. And then when streaming started to threaten their market share, they were trying to go to California to pass regulations to prevent computer to computer phone communication. I've read an article on that recently. It's like, so in a lot of ways, it's just groups of people competing for market share against each other. It's because we live in a competitive environment versus like a foundationally friendly environment to encourage each other to get new ideas out there, new technologies out there, rather than snuff them out and kill them, and then just continue doing things in a less efficient way. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
So do you think that this is just maybe FUD? That's what I thought at first, that this is kind of cyclical FUD. It just happens to be now.
I do. I think that's naturally, it's going on, chat? I think naturally that's just how things kind of play out. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, that's why I tend not to pay a lot of attention to it. The problem is with my strategy is that 9 times out of 10 I'm right. It is just FUD, and then the one time comes and it's not, and I'm really ill prepared. I didn't really have any input, and that's kind of where I come from. Like, what are we really to do right now? Call a congressman, a senator, write a letter. I don't know. I'm not an activist. I'm not a
Yeah, I feel
political
like,
activist.
we're moving to that point. I feel like we're moving, and when I say we, those of us invested in very quick investment vehicles such as Hex or other cryptos or just stocks that move fast, whatever, take your pick. Like we're in this game, and we're moving like 100 miles an hour, and regulation is moving like a turtle. So like we're making all these, life-changing things happen. And we're gonna outpace innovation is going to outpace regulation to such an extreme extent that they'll never be able to keep up with the next innovation. And so in the end, it is FUD in my eyes. Like you either have an exit, you'll either have to have an exit strategy to another jurisdiction, or this will just be caught up in paperwork forever, and you won't see that enacted in a meaningful way before better legislation comes along. I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it's a shame that if they would really pass something like this, we are going to entertain moving. As a family, we're thinking about it now, talking about it now. It's not what I want to do. I want to stay here and pay my taxes. Those that know me know I'm like concerned about paying my crypto taxes. You know what I mean? It's like the opposite of what I think they think we're doing. I'm overly concerned. I want to make sure that I do everything right. Here's my chance, like from the ground floor, to just do everything correctly, legally.
Man, I'm not excited to do it. I don't think anyone is. Like to the amount of like I've been adding a ton. I haven't sold that much, but I've been adding a ton over the last year, basically since big payday. And yeah, so that part's easy. It's the taking the gains part that's I'm not excited for. But so I don't know if everyone in the chat knows, but I did own a Bitcoin mining data center where I mined Bitcoin, Litecoin, Dogecoin, Ethereum out of this little
Nice. I
shed
didn't know that.
that I built. And that I did that in end of 2018. I started planning it in 18 and during the bear market, and then because I wanted to front run the next bull market, and so and back then the thinking was that the Bitcoin was going to go to zero, just like it always is at that point in the cycle where everyone, and so because I was new in 2017, I had to like fumble my way through the process of not only like building out the infrastructure, getting the equipment, setting it up, getting all the municipal paperwork done, and because it was a commercial lot, and going through all those steps was a huge challenge. But nothing was more challenging than having to stand up to family in particular, but also friends that just did not trust that I knew what I was doing with Bitcoin, that there was more to this Bitcoin thing than they thought. Because I mean,
Right.
that was, then that's something that a lot of us and Bitcoiners have faced forever. It was just this like upward hill both ways type thing where nobody was going to let magic internet money have any relevance in the world, right? But obviously there was something here. So that was like again, that goes back to like finding the power in yourself to face adversity and just trust your gut, and because you know that you're doing your half of the bargain, which is to do the work, the research, to figure out the answers to these things, whatever the problem presents itself. As long as you know that you're working on it and you can stand strong and be true to yourself, you will come up with a solution that other people will maybe reject at face value, but that if you stick with it and just be consistent, that even though you can't see what's on the other side at the end of the tunnel, that it will work out for you, and you got to know that. And you can know that because take it from somebody who's experienced it firsthand. I was is March of 2020. At that point, I had like a $300 investment in Hex just sitting in the back. I had 2 stakes going. That because back then I had no idea what Hex was. It was in from day 1 and day 2, but I had no idea what it was. And COVID dip happens, and Bitcoin crashes, and I actually watched it crash live to like 34. It was like first it was 4,000, then it was 3,800, then it was 3,600, then it was 3,400, and it all happened so fast.
And
then
were you watching
BitMEX got shut
Coinbase,
down.
or what do you mean?
So on my computer here, I use 4 screens, and I pull up data from a bunch of different exchanges. But one of my key exchanges I like to pull data from is BitMEX, just because back in the day, their liquidation engine would kind of run the show at certain key points in the market cycle. So I would keep an eye on them in particular, and that was the exchange that was crashing the price because their liquidation engine got out of control.
Liquidation engine, that's beyond my comprehension. Would you mind
All that
talking to me a
means
little
is
bit about
just that when there's people that have open positions or short positions so they're not actually just buying the coins, they're opening a contract that says the price is going to go up, or they're opening a contract that says the price is going to go down, and then they get rewarded or hurt based on whichever direction the price goes. So the liquidation engine just looks at the order book, and it sees that the price can go up 10% and down 10% and wick out both sides, and then all those fees and all that money gets liquidated out, and the exchange wins. And that's when you see those like BART patterns on the chart where like it BARTs down and then it goes sideways and BART back up. They first kill all the longs, they BART down, kill all the longs that were long at certain positions that get liquidated. Then it goes sideways, and then people load up on the other side of the trade, and then it flips back the other way. So it's so what ends up happening is like when it goes out of whack, like when you get huge down moves, like in COVID, where there was like clear huge selling on Coinbase and Gemini selling lots of coins. That was so much sell pressure that on BitMEX, the liquidation engine just kept liquidating farther and farther amounts of orders until there was literally no orders left, because the price dropped 50% like immediately. It was like from like, I think it was like either 7,000 or 8,000 bucks, and it just crashed in half like immediately. So it was a lot of strain on all of the order books across the entire ecosystem.
When you say immediately, you're not exaggerating.
I was like, it was probably real time. It was less than 5 minutes where it went from.
Wow.
It was probably like 3 minutes where it went from. Up front, it was quick, man. It was probably like I said, 7,000-8,000, and then it was 6,000, and then it was 5,000, 4,000.
What are you trying to do during that time? Did you have a strategy? Like, did this blow you? Did this really screw you because this happened?
So to get back to the mining part of it, so here I am, watching, when you're like as a miner, your only income is your computer's running, producing coins at a profit. But when the price gets to a certain point, if your electric rate is too high, then you can't run profitably. Then you can't pay off your equipment. So you actually yourself face, virtual liquidation, in the sense that, in my case, I thought I was gonna be out of a data center. So I mean, I was at my rock bottom as far as financially.
Yeah.
And I thought I was gonna lose my business, so to speak. But man, when everything looked like like it was the darkest day, there was just this little bit of hope, man. You get a boost from somewhere, and then everything kind of started to flip back the other way, and quickly, because then Bitcoin price flipped and rebounded and started moving up quickly. It didn't take very long until we were already headed towards like 10K. It was like a week or two, and we were already above 5,500, which was not normal behavior back then, because the prior year, 2018, was just down the whole time. So there was no. We thought, in 2020, after the crash, it was like, okay, so we're going to have to deal with another 2 years of this. Is what the mentality was. There was just no way to know, that Michael Saylor was going to come in and buy $1.5 billion of Bitcoin. There's just certain things you just don't know, and you're at the mercy of the hardware manufacturers, and you're at the mercy of the bank because you have loans with people and customers that you have miners running with you, and
Yeah, I
so
can
yes,
imagine.
very very challenging. And not what I originally thought. I thought mining was going to be hands off play, and it was not passive income at all.
That I can't imagine watching that during that time, because anytime that there's a dip in crypto, it's scary enough as it is. Like the sky is falling every time, especially when you're new. When I'm new, when I first came in, the first major dip I saw was very scary. Um, have that align with COVID, it must have been just beyond my comprehension as far as being able to handle that and relax through it. Um, I just got into crypto a few months after that, so I'm very lucky for my timing when to come in. Finding Hex relatively fast throughout my endeavor. This even still every dip it hurts a little bit. I mean, sometimes I guess I don't think about it because I have so much confidence in everything. It's wild. It's when they tie it into the political system, right? It's when they tie it into legislation, or the laws are coming. Taxes, right? Like all these unknowns that are just above my expertise, they make me feel very uncomfortable, and that's why I just
Well,
kind
it's
of
again, it's just a lot of extra work that you're gonna have to do, and it's unfortunate because that could be time spent on things that you actually care about. You know what I mean?
right.
Be
Yeah. So
nice if somebody would just come up with a system that could just kind of simplify all that for us, and it could just kind of auto generate and calculate out all your. Because like if you had like in the case of hex stakes, it should be pretty simple to calculate, and a program could do it because it's all right there on the blockchain. It's not
yeah,
like these centralized exchanges.
yeah, right.
So somebody needs to come along and help my lazy ass, to be honest, because I don't want to do my taxes. I have to usually give them to my brother. He's a accountant, tax accountant. So that was kind of
Oh,
nice. Got
nice.
that benefit.
Cool. Do you use Coinly at all with a K? Have you heard of
I
that?
don't do any of it, no, man. I just kind of tell him some information, then he asks me some
Nice.
question, and then I just kind of let him handle it.
Well, Coinly's cool. It's Koinly. I'm not sure if it's .io, but it probably is. Make sure you're not clicking on an ad. But I use it, and it's a little expensive, and I didn't want to use it last year. The software that I used was from Coinbase. It was like $300, and ended up not importing properly into my TurboTax. So I know Hex Live is here. What's going on, brother? I know Hex Live did a little workaround to rewrite the columns and the rows inside the Excel format so that it would read it. He got it to work. Essentially, I didn't, so I kind of wasted $300. I had to do roundabout accounting to get to where I wanted to go. I stumbled upon Coinly, and I don't believe it's the same software, so I just want to put that caveat out there. It might be the same thing. Maybe I just realized there's another level to it, but I talked to Papa B about it, and Coinly it's really cool. So like if I'm going to do my own taxes, right, like TurboTax, or I'm going to try to help out my accountant a lot, I can run the Coinly tax software now in the year 2021, so that when I do my taxes for the year 2021, I'll have stayed in front of it this whole time. So I can mark every transaction. They have send to pool, receive, send, all the different things that we do here. Airdrops, you can label each transaction with any one of these things. And it even goes into as far of detail as to combine LIFO and FIFO, last in, first out, first in, first out. So you can actually pick which hex you're selling. So if you don't want to sell the first hex that you bought and you want to sell the last hex that you bought, you can do that. And then you can apparently switch back to selling the first hex that you bought. So it's kind of cool. It's what I'm checking out now.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
certainly
super
not.
nice that you can switch
Yeah.
between whatever's most beneficial at the time.
Yeah. And, it's like TurboTax. Like you just play around with it enough and you start to really learn how it works. So, um, I don't know anybody promoting Coinly. No one's telling, asking me to promote it over here. That's for sure. So it's just something I found. If you want to take a look at it, anybody at home, if you're into doing that stuff, if you're like right on the verge of handing your taxes over to somebody else, or you're doing it yourself, or I would imagine even if you have a full-blown professional tax, attorney and accountant and business manager, perhaps Coinly would be great too. So Axis, it's cool that they have that. I was kind of blown away that they have that. So I'm hoping that they just keep
Yeah, I'm
refining
looking at it now. I might, plug some stuff in and see what it spits out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really cool. You add each wallet. The thing is, you got to pay like a $50 just extra to have it update daily, but that's okay. It's maybe $100 to $300 depending on how many trades whoever purchases creates a year. I think mine was like $300, and then to pay $50 more, so $350 on the year. And then as I'm going into, I have different wallets, my Staker app, my MetaMask. I have a few different accounts inside my MetaMask. So I have all those wallets connected there. It interacts with them. I labeled, my sending to pool, donations to sends. You can label it donations. So it is really cool. I'm glad we're talking about it, because I don't hear it talked about a lot on stream.
Yeah, definitely. Any kind of cool new tools, I'm down to hear about. Check them out for sure. This one looks like a good one.
Yeah. And so I'm getting all excited about like doing everything properly. Paying
You
my
better do it,
taxes.
because otherwise you're gonna end up in jail one day.
For sure. Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, that's the type of, like, that's where I come from. That's what my background is, right? Like I'm not going back to jail. Like I'm just
Yeah.
not. Right. So like
Yeah.
if I have the opportunity to do things right, I'm going to make sure I do them. And to throw a monkey wrench in the whole system, like right now, like I just don't get it. Do we have people out there hiring lobbyists and fighting for us? And then do we even trust those people that are doing that? It's a corrupt system, and even internally
Bro,
now.
you're talking about some important stuff. I think that this community needs to really focus on a lot of those important, problems and find solutions to this stuff, because like there's a lot of new interest coming into the space, and people are going to be looking to us for answers to a lot of the things that exist normally in legacy, that maybe those tools aren't easily found or built out yet. Then they're going to be coming to us looking for answers to a lot of this stuff. It seems like every stream I come on, there's stuff being talked about in the chat that it blows me away. Like I always find out something new,
Oh, yeah.
whether it be like a service that's offered, or Wales and I were streaming the other night and somebody brought up trying to jog my memory here and remember what it was, but it was a cool service that, what did they do? Shoot, I wish I could remember.
Is it Rocket something? Because I'm looking for that now so I can say the right thing.
Shoot, I can't remember now. Wales might be able to remember.
John Wick and Toby told me about Rocket. While we're both trying to think, I'm looking through my emails to find it. Oh, Rocket Dollar.
Never heard of it.
So Rocket Dollar, when we were out in Vegas, being out on Big K's penthouse party out on the breezeway, the porch, whatever you call it, the balcony. It was just so beautiful, and like a cool conversation we had is like I look over and like John Wick's right there and Toby Wan's right here, and having this discussion about setting up an LLC for you to have your own 401k that you pay into as the employee and the employer. That you can, I'm sure a lot of people have heard this, but if you haven't, you can set this up through Rocket Dollar so that you could pay yourself $18,000 a year, I believe it is, as the employee, and as the employer, I think you can pay approximately double that. So let's say approximately $36,000 as the employer, 18 as the employee. It's $54,000 a year that you're going to put away into your 401k under an LLC through Rocket Dollar. That this is going to be essentially tax deferred, right? You're going to use the money pre-tax. You're going to buy hex with that. You can even stake that hex, and you lock it up until you're 59 and a half years old, and then you can take it out tax-free. So there's that within Rocket Dollar. And then there's also a Roth IRA, or just the IRA. Now, I apologize, certainly not my expertise. I'm sure everyone at home knows a lot more than I do about this. One of those two is pre-tax. One of those two is post-tax. The one that is beneficial for us is we want to pay the tax now on our income. I want to get that out of the way, pay the tax now.
Yeah, that's the Roth. Yep.
The Roth. Thank you. So then I'm going to buy that hex again. I think it's up to $6,000 a year. I'm just thinking. So 54,000 plus 6,000, 60 grand a year. If you're married, that means $120,000 a year that you can put away through your Roth IRA, as well as your 401k as the employee and the employer for both you and your spouse through Rocket Dollar. So Toby Wan turned me on to that, like I said, and I heard Toby and John, talk in great detail about that in Vegas, and it was just so incredible to hear two minds like that have complete understanding of that world, discuss it and explain it to me. And Toby, I know, is going through it right now. I'm not sure how far John is in it, but there's guys in the community that are doing this, that I do look up to and trust and value their time. So, if anybody is looking out there to figure out more how to do this, and you reach out to, Axis, myself, Toby, or John, please do. It's let me just make sure it's .com.
Nice, Wales. Yeah, Wales just commented, just do it. Yeah, so it's the Roth IRA. It's post-tax. It's the most benefit to you long term.
Cool.
Yeah, and that thing that came up the other day on stream was it was actually like a service that lets you change your physical address. So like if you had like a bank card that was based out of like Hawaii and you wanted to buy crypto, it would get rejected anywhere you tried to do it. But if you change the physical address that's tied to the bank card through the service, then you'd be free from that, and you could make purchases
From outside the U.S.?
There's a couple states like Hawaii, New York, and I think Nebraska that don't let people buy crypto.
Yeah, but what do you do about where you're physically located then, geographically, as you go
you just change the address that the bank card's tied to. So you could change like the physical address of give it a different zip code in a different state or whatever.
And then you'd have to use a VPN.
And you can still swipe the card. Like it'd be no different than just opening a bank account in a different state, I guess, is in a sense.
Okay.
Even though it's just giving you a second, in quotes, a second residence or a different like location that you base yourself out of, so that it's not in your home state. You could do like an entity, like a LLC or an LP in a different state, for example, and then open bank accounts there and have a physical address there through this service. So, PO box or whatever.
Access, if you wouldn't mind, tell me just a little bit more about it. I gotta do something here I forgot to do something when we set up the stream with Discourse, so I gotta take 2 or 3 minutes and do that. Thank you.
Yep. So what's going on in the chat? Let's see here. Richard built a metaphysical time machine with Hex. Yes, I would agree with that. I would definitely agree with that. I think Hex, whether anybody that created this code for this software knows it or knew it or not in the beginning, I think that they created something that really does protect the long-term investor. And I don't think anything else like that really existed before. It's pretty amazing. Maybe in a very rudimentary sense, Hex is time travel in a sense that it changes your future self, the ground you stand on. It's kind of cool little thought.
Thank you. All set. We have to set up a custom RTMP through Restream. We use StreamYard, and so this is the second time I forgot. So sorry, RG. I apologize, brother. We should be all set now. So if I saw the comment, UFO 42, how's it going, brother? That we might be double streaming on YouTube. So I just wanted to address that. Thank you.
What's going on, Bran? No problem. I'm glad to see you in the chat.
Yeah, so I never, a year and a half ago, I never thought I'd be talking about a lot of these things, but to the degree that I care as an American citizen, I was scared right last year with COVID when it happened. with lockdown when I was apart from my family. It was brutal. I was going through some tough times mentally, spiritually, physically, everything. And we made it through it. And now like there's like this beautiful opening, and the world is looking incredible, and I'm active and participating, and I want to keep going, and I want to keep being positive. And this is just so much out of my wheelhouse that I really look for community members for their guidance, especially Richard, especially Wales, people that have opposing views. It was cool to see Wales and Papa B the other day. I didn't get a chance to see the whole entire stream, but they seemed to have some, conflicting arguments that was really cool to just like learn from. I respect both those guys a lot. So I think that was on the Wake Up show
Excuse me.
or Wake Up Hex on Thursday. If anybody missed that, did you get a chance to see that, Axis?
I tune in sometimes. I tune into some of those morning shows, whether it be Wake Up Hex or the Hex Asians, but I don't think I caught that one though. But yeah, I do catch them after work some mornings. So
it was cool because how opinionated Wales and Papa B both are.
oh yeah, dude, I had a fucking stream with them half the time. It's it gets pretty brutal sometimes. We don't always agree, but I always show them the right path. It's okay,
Yeah.
buddy.
Right. His conviction is unparalleled. Wales is. So like when he's not only does he believe something, but I've never seen him wrong, that I could say. So it's cool to see someone with so much conviction believe one argument, and then
Yeah, we can
something
agree on. Me and him agree on that we stumbled onto something cool here with this one.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So it was I like to hear what other people have to say. Take everything with a grain of salt too. I mean, if somebody tells me to go become an activist and do this, do that, I don't know that I'm going to do it. But if 4 or 5, 6 people that I really respect are all kind of relaying that message, then this is like I keep saying, I don't know what to do here. It's not my expertise. I'm looking for help. I have time, right? I have energy. We have money.
Yeah.
What do we
Yeah.
do?
So I mean, are you talking specifically on the tax front?
Yeah. Back to
Yeah,
like
I
just
mean,
taking care of
I hate to
ourselves.
like address that like I'm not a accountant or anything like that, so I can't really say, publicly like what any one of your tax situations looks like, but there's just simple run of the mill just business strategy that I can talk about, which is like you should run your funds through an entity, like a holding entity. Um, like there's a little bit of paperwork, and you have to pay a fee, and you can open a business in another state that is tax friendly to whatever your endeavor is. So in the case of crypto, Wyoming's a big one right now. And so what you do is you'd open like an LLC, and then the LLC would actually own your hex stakes. You wouldn't personally own them. So they're in a sense shielded from certain tax obligations under certain situations. And to go further into that, I'll just, hold off. But maybe I could get my brother to come on here some night and talk tax. That would be interesting. That would be a juicy talk. Because he was always one of those anti-crypto guys for a long time. And he was also, he's a legacy tax accountant, by trade. So he and I always butted heads because he would always complain about like, this crypto shit's supposed to be so revolutionary and supposed to be so easy to use and all this and that, and all it does is take forever to send and receive, and it's hard to track what transactions are what and this and that. And this is coming from 2017 bull market where there really wasn't a lot of tools out there at the time. So I totally understood what he meant, but yeah, we settled on he ended up getting some hacks, somewhere around a penny, and so ever since then he's been a lot more eager to know more and to learn about how best to deal with the tax situation. So one way,
that'd be
yes, is to
awesome
do
to
a
hear.
pass through entity. Yeah, I've never really even thought about having him kind of on here. But yeah, that would be definitely an interesting thing to do for sure.
Is he Is it okay to just preface things like these? This is not accounting advice. This is not financial advice, and then go into it. You think, or is that something he'd be able
I
to?
honestly just don't even know like specifics because you'd actually asking me to remember a lot of like business logic stuff that I haven't even looked at for over 2 years. But just to like try to brush over it if I can even try to remember. It's really not that complicated. I think like the Roth IRA thing was a good thing. That's its own thing for an individual to do so that when they get paid by their job, their wages are taxed already. So that money can then be used to purchase coin outright. And then that coin accrues value, but it's already been taxed. So the only tax you'd have in addition to would be any kind of appreciation you had and then um, coin price or the number of coins. So in Hex, you kind of get it. You kind of get hurt two ways on that one because you're earning new coins and the coins are going up in value. So technically, you're supposed to tax the gain. I think it's easiest to just tax the gain like first in, first out. Use your oldest coins first because those they will have the most gains, but you also like theoretically you wouldn't be taking out the bulk of your Hex gains right now. You should be saving a lot of that off into the future.
Yeah,
So that's
it
my
can get complicated. Like right now, my nephew and I were talking about this. He's here right now. What's going on, brother? Uh, what do you do when you haven't been in for a year and you've made a tremendous gains, like in Hex, like I have, right? Like many of us have. I haven't quite been in a year yet. So for me during the sacrifice phase, and actually kind of even a funny, not so funny story about when I was in my internship, right, with LDA with Nerd Girl. Um, I was doing some tutorial videos and I didn't think about the tax implications of what I was doing. So one day I went and I wanted to create a tutorial video, but I didn't want to make it look like the person didn't have, like I only had like $100 in the account. So basically I wanted to put one whole Ethereum over there. So I wanted to shoot the video with one whole Ethereum in my account, right? Like it didn't even matter. So I sold my Hex. I sold like $2,500 worth of Hex to get the one Ethereum so that I could shoot this tutorial video so that I could then sell my Ethereum back and get my Hex. It wasn't like I was doing anything other than work.
yeah.
Now I did this twice, right? Because I did it, didn't get everything I needed for the video, so I did it again. And I didn't think much of it. And this was like back before I really started thinking about taxes. And what I did was I caused myself two taxable events that, basically the $2,500 each time is like $2,400 profit at least. So each one of those is going to be entirely taxed um, at
So
a
you
high
didn't.
rate.
That was coins that you held on to for some time, man.
Yeah, I had them for like 10 months, 11 months,
Ah, shit. Yeah,
So
technically it is, but if for, I mean, there's certain situations that you can define that, like if
So
it's a,
what's cool with Coinly is I could perhaps do it in the last part. So I was talking to my nephew about maybe the little part that I stacked up on for the sacrifice phase that I paid anywhere from 5 cents to 12.5 cents for. Maybe
yeah,
I
you
just
can use
use
that.
that.
Yeah, last in or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Do
So
that.
cool. Yeah, it'd be cool if
Definitely.
if somebody was like I forget the guy's name. I apologize. Adam Adam Pumps Bags or Pumps Bags Adam. He's an accountant.
Yeah.
He's in
Yep.
Canada.
I've seen. Didn't he do like an outline over the winter
Yeah,
last winter?
yeah. And I
Remember
was hoping
stumbling
to
upon that?
have him come on Discourse. About 6 months ago, I was talking to RG about it. You know, be a great person to contact. I think Adam Pumps Bags on Twitter, but yeah, it'd be great to just have somebody that actually works in the industry do like a reoccurring show where they could help us with all these things. It's to the point now where we need that security briefing.
Definitely, man.
Every
I
couple
agree
weeks.
with you 100%. It's definitely, yeah, you're hit the nail on the head. It's important. We all need to, know this stuff.
Yeah, so if anyone's out there, if you're an accountant, tax professional, if you've been thinking about streaming, if you want to contact any of us streamers, and we'll help you get going. It'd be great to have that person in our community. So Ross X,
I'll
thank
ask
you.
my
Like to
brother too, see if
appreciate
he
that.
got any interest in coming on here one of these times, and because
Cool.
he would have to re-up a little bit on the crypto stuff. He hasn't looked at it since last year, but he's going to very quickly be able to answer questions about how you should set up an entity and stuff like that. That really
That
is
would be
not that
awesome.
difficult. So, yeah, there's just a little bit of paperwork. So
Yeah, it'd be cool to hear Wales with them too.
for sure,
You guys
yeah,
would have a great dynamic. I think what was happening in Axis earlier, we had the 2 streams going, so that's why I couldn't see when you were seeing some people over on YouTube, and I couldn't see them because I was on the other stream, and they weren't all feeding into my StreamYard. So thank you for joining us, everybody. I apologize, for having the 2 streams. Thank you for meeting back over here. Over 100 people watching now. All the OGs, lots of new Hexicans. Thank you for being here. We do have Monday night Discourse Syndicate coming on in 1 hour, so we got about another 45 minutes that we'll stream here. If anybody has any questions, Axis Alive and I are hanging out, just discussing taxes, crypto, Pulse Chain, Hex.
Growing up, I wanted to mention something about. We've glanced over a lot of topics already, and it's been awesome. But I wanted to go back to what you're talking about. So, I mean, this is totally flipping 180. Back when you were growing up doing hockey and stuff,
Yeah.
I know in my own experience, I did football. That's just kind of what we did around in the Midwest here.
Nice.
And in regards to like the whole, getting through challenging points, like, so I wasn't naturally that hand-eye coordinated, like full body. I was a gamer, so like I could do that. I had the dexterity to do things with my hands, but just not like I was a lineman. So if that says anything. But that was like, there's certain things in a man's life when they like try to push you, they start to push you in an uncomfortable direction, but that's all meant for growth. And football was one of those things for me that pushed me out into the world, built some confidence, got me physically active when I wasn't. And so yeah, it was just one of those, that one, and then and doing construction work over the summer, man. You want to know how to work hard? Holy crap.
Oh yeah.
Pouring concrete and for 12 hours a day in the beating sun. Like it is fucking hard.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I did that in Florida as well in the hot summer, August, July months. Built
you
a
probably
school.
knew some of our crew. we had a traveling crew that went and did some work in Florida.
I didn't do it for long. I just did it for that one summer, and then, just to relate to what you're saying, it was hard work. It was backbreaking, literally backbreaking work. And yeah, but I grew up in playing football as well. I played football my freshman year. I had that extra weight on me till about freshman year, and then I'd get out of school and have 3-4 hour football practice every single day, and then have hockey practice 3 or 4 nights a week. 2 hours. So by the time my freshman year was over, that baby weight was gone, and all of a sudden now I was a relatively good looking guy in shape, pretty good hockey player. All of a sudden the ladies started talking to me, and it wasn't very good for my ego. So I sort of lost control at that point. I would say at like 16 years old, I was bigger, more developed than everybody, stronger, faster, right, full of ego. So I thought, and it was just a downhill ride from there. So it was like finding my confidence till I was 16, and then just becoming.
And you got it. But you got the whole bag. Like I feel like once you got that, you didn't let go. You were like, foot fully on the pedal, huh?
Oh yeah. My wife was just looking at my high school picture today here in my parents' house. I'm down Florida, so my senior picture's up. I have I put it on Twitter before. I have frosted tips, like the Backstreet Boys. I have both my ears pierced.
I think I've seen that picture floating around.
I look like Zach Morris. A lot of people they'll make fun of me. They'll say like I'm trying to impersonate him. So it was a trip. I thought I was the man. I really did. Like I had more confidence than was good for. I was really a piece of shit of a person, because that person that has so much confidence, it becomes cocky, egotistical, and
yeah, dude. Oh man, bad memories. You just reminded me of like 2015, man. Oh my god. Yeah, I was that guy too. It's humbling though, right?
Oh yeah.
How much I've heard your story a couple times now over the last few months, and because it's pretty cool, man, to see you kind of do a 180 like this. And but like it didn't come without a lot of effort. You know, like there was a lot of it's clear to me that your intentions are pure, that you really do want to fix. You fixed a lot of things, you know, that were wrong with yourself,
Yeah,
and then now you're able to like see, you could be able to appreciate and see the world through clear eyes now. You know what I mean?
for sure.
I'm the same
I'm
way.
really lucky. Okay.
I'm the same way, man. I went through it with video games where so I've talked about it before, but I'm not kidding you. Like I did pro Halo at professional video gaming. I did
Oh
Halo
wow.
for fucking 10 years,
Wow.
but I was really only competitive in the top 8 teams for 2 years, maybe 2 or 3 years. But what that does to a person is like when you get to go against the grain and chase your dream like that, and then you do reach like world class at it, it can consume you. And in the case of that game, which was a violent game, when all a person does is wake up and play a violent game all day and then just fall asleep and then repeat that process over and over again, it's not a healthy social environment. And if you add the stress of having to perform at a high level, um, like that weighs on your own mental and physical health, but also on the health of the people around you. So in my, personal relationships suffered from that. And even though I was the best I ever was at this thing that I wanted to be the greatest of all time at, it just wasn't enough to satisfy my ego. And I was always needed more wins, or always needed to beat a better player, and so it was like a pit in my stomach, like something that I was just always on a hunger I couldn't feed. This desire to just completely destroy everything in front of me. Like that sounds brutal, but it's what it was. It was my primal ego thinking. Um, and
What helped take that away then, Axis? How did that,
well,
I don't sense that at all
people
from you.
people made decisions that altered the course of my future forever. So, and that because of that, I thought I
Sorry
had
guys.
everything figured out. Remember, I
Yeah.
thought I had everything figured out, and I wasn't, And then when the things that are closest to you start to change quickly, you don't have anywhere to lean because you didn't realize you needed to lean on something anyway. And then when that support's gone, then you're like, oh, and you're like looking around for answers to all these questions now you're having, because you're like, all right, now you start questioning yourself, and then it was a battle of, is this really what I want? I mean, is this really making me happy, or am I just doing this for some other reason? And for me, it was totally just completely to be better than other people. It was like there's no positive thing about it, and so I when I finally realized that things needed to change, I started doing things that were uncomfortable more. So I instead of doing what was familiar, I did what was unfamiliar, and I did things that were challenging or new things that, and rather than like think about doing them, I would just say yes or go do them. There wouldn't be any time for thought. I basically put myself in a altered state of mind where I would just not observe things objectively, and I would just execute on things. So that way I could start to build momentum in a direction. Any direction was better than what I was doing, which was just stalling at the time. So
Yeah.
I don't know how to sum all that up other than to say that you need to, like in my case, I needed to focus on taking time away from what was familiar and go challenge myself with new things, and then that was what I needed to process through a lot of that old baggage.
Are you seeing this in hindsight, or did you make a conscious decision to change going forward when you were younger?
So an event that happened that caused a lot of pain, and so once the pain allowed me to see clearly almost instantly.
Okay.
It wasn't like something that, I've always been very self-aware, so that wasn't something I ever struggled with. So even when I was this big egotistical dickhead, I still knew to some extent what I was doing. I just thought I thought I was justified and could get away with it. That was the problem. And nobody deserves to be treated poorly, period. And I treated a lot of people poorly during that time in my life. And so, yeah, I was able to quickly kind of just decide that, all right, some, and I just started working on myself and started learning new skills. I started looking up, like, I started getting into computer networking and
Nice.
trying new stuff. And then I found crypto shortly thereafter. So at that point, I had not even found crypto yet.
What year was this then? Approximately, if you don't
2015.
mind. 2015. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you are. I'd love to hear more about specifically finding Richard and Hex. You know, I know you were
Yeah.
mining. So, how do you make the leap?
So to kind of bridge that gap, I would stumbled on some Richard videos probably in 18, maybe end of 17, but for sure in 2018. Because it was when I was starting to dig into the trading side of it, because I was mostly just mining, like focused in 2017. And in 2018 I started to dig in. I got onto Whalepool. Whalepool's a what's that program called? TeamSpeak.
Sure.
There's a just a chat program on a computer called TeamSpeak. They do like a big there's like a 400 person like global lobby for crypto traders on there, and I
Oh wow.
found that, and then I started digging around in the videos and just kind of like sharing ideas. Back then, I didn't even know what bull and bear was. You know, I didn't know anything. But it was there was two videos, and one was his Malta speech. I don't know if you remember watching the Malta speech video. That was right before he launched Hex. He went on stage in Malta at one of the last big conferences and basically stole the show and told everyone that he was creating this awesome currency and it was going to be amazing. But his speech was compelling, and that one got me interested in the idea of investing in Hex before it launched. And then I think it was right after that I watched the Richard Hart versus Eric Wall video. And that was
also outside Malta, right? Wasn't that where that took
yeah, it
place
was
as
the
well?
same weekend. I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
those two videos were shot. And so those two videos basically that was my first exposure that I can remember. There might have been more, but those are the two that kind of my intuition was like, all right, there's something here, because like literally every point that this Eric guy keeps saying is refuted. And so then I dug a little deeper, and I didn't, I was just all I did in the beginning stages was getting into Hex was did a couple quick math problems in my head or like on the calculator on my computer, just of what a $150 bag could be worth one day if the math played out.
Right.
And so I thought that, if $150 should be enough to get something out of this, like something significant. And, after this amount of time, that thesis actually proved to be true. For all of us, it's been crazy. It's been a wild ride. But, most of my, further exposure didn't happen till long after the Godwill pump. Like I wasn't even aware of what was going on with Hex during that time. I was mining and focused on other things at that time. So I wasn't anywhere near as involved in the community as I am now.
So
And it was
what was it like going from? I'm assuming you got rid of your mining rigs and everything, and you're just fully in Hex now. But
yeah, I
are you
got a
still
couple
mining?
left. I'm selling them
Okay.
off through over the internet. Just kind of getting rid of what's left of the equipment from down there. 'Cause I
Cool.
sold the shop just with very little minimal equipment. I got to take most of that with me.
Are you interested in getting into becoming a validator, perhaps?
Oh man, it'd be cool to do all that, but I don't have a big enough stake in that net. Or you're talking about Impulse, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah.
Um, I'm not going to have a big enough stake unless I add to my position. So this is kind of like a controversial with some people maybe. I'm just like a hex bull. Like I think Pulse can do like a 40x pretty quickly, but I'm just like a hex bull. Um, so I think like a lot of my economic energy is going to be focused there with the caveat that I think there's going to be like a life-changing opportunity to purchase Pulse within the first 6 months at a very low price. And so I sacked a little bit just to get exposure, and yes, I'd validate, or I'd validate if I had the size funds. I think you can delegate, right? So I would, any funds I do have on Pulse will be delegated to a
Yeah,
validator.
for sure. I think my interpretation of the landscape right now is that all the guys with money don't know how to validate, and all the guys that validate don't have all the pulse. So you got to
Gotcha,
kind of,
gotcha.
make a team.
I mean, like, yeah, we could. Oh, that's all stuff we can talk about in the green room, perhaps, for sure.
Yeah, yeah, cool. If you don't mind, uh, I'm curious about Eric Wall. If you don't mind talking, what you're, I don't have the best perception of him right now. I
Yeah.
thought it was really cool that he put those hex glasses on, that profile picture, lost a bet.
Oh yeah.
He won me over a little bit doing that. Now I feel like manipulated and dirty. I think he's a weasel. I also should be careful, right? Because I don't really know. So like I'm just gonna off the
Yeah.
cuff be honest and say what I think. And I'm just curious because you were saw this sort of unfold from back in 2017, 2018, saw
Yeah.
those videos. Who is Eric
He's
Wall? Is he
just a
somebody?
skeptic. He's just a guy. He's just like he's just a hedge fund manager, probably a small fund that he started with some investors. Probably a small group. I don't really know in particular. Probably knew Richard from years ago, and they just happened to be at that event, and they like to debate each other. So that's probably just the extent of that. There's not really anything much beyond that, I don't think.
What
But
do you think that they're
he said he
boys?
comes.
Axis? Do you think like they might be like
I think they're
friends? Like,
friends. Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that Eric Wall plays Richard's game the same way Richard plays Eric's game. Like it's a good debate. So I actually think he's kind of like a fan of sorts, but he just, publicly doesn't really let on to it. But I don't know that for sure. I think here's what I really think. I think he's a technical guy that only sees value in technical innovation, and he can't see how Hex is technically innovative because it's economically innovative. It's not. It does solve some things technically, but on the surface, it really it only shows up as economic innovation, and he doesn't find value in that the same way he would find value in like Cardano finally enabling smart contracts, for example. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
because a lot of people's biggest problem with Hex is that it doesn't quote unquote do anything. That's what people don't like about it, just as much as any of the other problems that they have with it.
I like to ask those difficult questions. I love to see if someone's going to go at Richard and ask like the most difficult question, the most taboo thing you're not supposed to ask. That'd be awesome. I don't know that Eric deserves time with him unless they are just straight up boys. And this is like you and Wales, and you have this thing called Hex, and Wales is doing his thing, and you want to bring in Wales to like just be your counterpart, but like provide some entertainment, but never really,
Yeah,
you're
that's how
never
I
really
read
gonna
it.
get mad at
Definitely.
him, you know?
That's how I see it. Is like they're a duo that is a good marketing duo. They both played two sides of an argument, and you know, I've
Cool.
speculated on stuff like that a lot with not just Eric, but with a lot of the way that Richard launched Hex. That if if it wasn't planned, it sure as hell could have been because it seems like everybody hated the project in the beginning. It's
Right.
almost like too much hate to be. It was impossible for there to be
Right.
that much hate.
Yeah, the legal strawman saying there was a Dev Kyle and Eric Wall interview recently. That was from yesterday. It was released. That's why we're, discussing this right now. It is a topic in Hex in our community. What an exceptional job Dev Kyle has done once again. Truly a leader, a critical thinker. His intelligence is bar none. So comfortable to be in capable hands beyond Richard Hart, knowing that there's
Yes,
someone like
dude.
Dev Kyle.
Yes, you're speaking my language, man. Kyle is probably. I'm really bullish on him.
On Kyle,
I
yeah, me
think that
too.
he is a huge man. Thank God for him.
Right?
Yep,
Such
he's
a
awesome.
kind-hearted guy. Like, um, anytime I've ever reached out to him, always gets back to me. Um, just a great guy, and then
Wales, who's dumping the price, man? I'm getting pissed.
is it going down?
No, it's just chilling at 12.7. But I'm just, it's like it makes these great like these like starts of these parabolas, and then somebody just comes in and they're just selling. I'm like, why you guys be like that? It's
Yeah,
getting very low vol though, so it's clear to me that it's setting up more sideways action to come. Potentially a spike to 5 cents, but not guaranteed. And
spike to 5 cents. We should get off and set some limit orders then.
yeah,
Axis,
I mean,
are you
it's
doing
always
things like that? Are you setting limit orders and actually having them
yeah,
work?
more and more. I'm increasingly
Are they working for you?
I'm not afraid to admit that I'm definitely trying to trade hex in a sense. Like just like with whatever liquid position I have, I'm definitely setting orders in different zones that I think are good plays. But
Yeah.
what was your question though?
Do you successfully set limit orders? So not just market sell, market buy, but are they executing once you set them up? Because I'm having some difficulty
Not
sometimes.
always, but yes,
More often than not.
sometimes they do.
Do
Sometimes
you
they
have
do,
any
sometimes they
insight
don't.
to why this might be happening?
I would just
Why they-
put limit orders. I would, for any limit orders you're putting in, put them in. Like if you think the price is going to fall 50%, put them in at like 35 to 40%, and then also make sure that there's extra gas in the tank. Those are my two
Okay.
things.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it would require gas. I don't think it does.
That's right. No, limit orders don't require gas on
I don't think
matcha.
it does.
Yeah.
I can't figure out the rhyme or reason why sometimes they work, when sometimes they don't. Sometimes they're partially filled. More often than
Yeah,
not,
well,
though,
that's
they don't
because
work.
there's a bot. I mean, a bot or another smart person that's all trying to buy the limited supply up at the same time. So, I mean, like, there's probably like I'm assuming that there's just like tons of orders that are just getting tagged all at the same time, plus like market bids that come in at the same time, and it's just on-chain clusterfuck, probably with all
Yeah.
the order routing and everything.
So, real quick, just to perform a limit order for if there are successful attempts that do go through, I have had them, but more often than not, they fail. So, I use matcha.xyz and 1inch.io. I
You've had
use
the same problem on
USDC.
both, though.
Yes.
Hmm.
And it's not just like a wick down that I don't get the buy and it goes back up and I'm priced out now. It's hanging down there, and like it sells lower and lower. I'm like, what's going on? Is it going to pick it up? I'm like, I guess I'll just make the market order then, you know? So,
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there.
so you just, I use USDC, pull up hex is the USDC pair that I want to interact with. And you can switch, the parameter from default as a market buy to a limit, and then you set the price in USDC and go from there. You can also do it on Uniswap v3, which is a little bit more confusing, involved. Expert levels bumped up a little bit. It's one-sided liquidity providing. So you go into v3, you add your hex. Let's say if you want to sell it for a quarter, you add your hex as a one-sided liquidity pair to become in effect, I don't know the right terminology, but at a quarter. So it will, as the wick goes up 23, 24, 25 cents, it's going to hit, it's going to sell your hex. And because it's Uniswap v3 and you're adding liquidity, one-sided liquidity, you then need to go and pull that out, right? So you then need to do a secondary step. So I have not done that on Uniswap v3. That sounds like a nightmare. um, you know, Sitting there watching. Okay, now I got to pull it out. I mean, that's not what I want to do. So I was hoping that the matcha.xyz and the 1inch would work. And given that they work about 25% of the time to me, I'm still doing it. I'm still setting them because 1 out of 4 times they work. So,
When they work, if you get tagged, like you're probably making instant profit on those.
oh yeah, it's a beautiful thing. It's amazing. And I try not to be so greedy. So like if I think it's going, like you just said for your suggestion, if I think it's going down to 7.1 cents, right, I'll set it for 8.5 because it's not working for me properly. So I keep bumping it up. But
Was that what it was? You think you're like getting toward the end of the range and it's just quickly moving outside of your range, or like how
no,
far are you off your limit orders off of the low?
I set limit orders for when sacrifice phase first started, and I first started bringing my fresh fiat in and like regularly. I set up about 10, 12 orders on matcha.xyz, and when they started to fill, they didn't even fill the right ones. They filled middle ones. So like it wasn't like it came in and combed through it like you would think top to bottom, bottom to top. It like picked out ones that it filled.
Doesn't build confidence for me to want to do limit
No.
orders at all. So I mean, if I was gonna do like trading, like Wales is gonna kill me for saying this, but yeah, I mean, I would trade on like I would put limit orders in on Bitmart on the Bitcoin pair potentially, but even that is like you're dealing with the volatility of Bitcoin too. So, come on, Richard, where's the exchange, bro? We need a new exchange.
Right.
So it's all good though. No expectations.
I did have another question earlier. We were discussing Eric. Talking about Malta. And I guess I'd just like to hear more about I did have a specific question, but I can't think of it. So if we could talk more about like what was the transition from the God whale buy to now for you? What's it been like?
Oh yeah. So that summer, shoot, what was I doing? So my data center was actually shut down between the God whale buy and basically DeFi summer.
The
DeFi summer was when
DeFi summer, yeah,
when all the airdrops were happening, and Uniswap was starting to like really pick up in popularity. And we had a Bitcoin pump to 12.5, and then that's when I started to like get pulled back into crypto again. And it would have been August. So I started. Okay, here we go. Now I remember. So August comes around. So July, I didn't really do a lot. End of July, I started leverage trading, 100x, 100x leverage trading with Bitcoin.
Crypto or stocks with Bitcoin?
With Bitcoin. Wow. I was trading literally just the Bitcoin USD pair, 100x leverage, and I would snipe the bottoms and tops or the breakouts. So like, I might have like a really good 3 days where I'd make like $1,000 or $2,000 with a like I started with like $2,000 or something. It was a small amount of money, and I grew the account by like 50%, so I was up to like $3,000 or whatever. And that took me only like a week or two, and I thought I was a freaking genius. Of course, everyone does. And meanwhile, my hex position is just chilling in the background, right? And it's up like it started as like $150 position. It was like at $6,000 at this point. But I didn't really think about that like that. It wasn't even like hex wasn't even a thing in my mind. It was like the only way that I was ever going to make it in crypto was going to be chasing this amount of Bitcoins that I had a couple years prior, right? I think everybody gets to that point where they're like, all right, I had, maybe not in your case because you kind of fell right into the good crypto right away, but
I know
a lot of us had a lot of Bitcoin and lost it and then are trying to get it back, right?
Yeah.
So like for me, the only way I was ever going to be able to do that was to leverage trade. And the only way I was ever going to be able to do it quickly was 100x. The rationale was completely wrong, Joe.
Wow.
Completely. I wiped out that account in like 3 weeks. But it wasn't because it wasn't all just it wasn't all just a human error. And I got to say that much. It was the one trade that really ticked me off was I was in a long position. And Bitcoin was clearly in an uptrend, strong uptrend. I think we were trading somewhere north of 13,000 on the way to 14 after that big breakout. And I just remember looking at my charts, and I was watching Bitcoin from like 5 different exchanges all at once, and I was watching the order flows so I could see kind of like where there was resistance and what exchanges were showing resistance and what exchanges were showing bid support that was pushing the price up. So like all the bid support was coming from Coinbase, obviously. And then all of a sudden I saw the Coinbase price feed freeze. And I was like, oh shit, what's this? And then I saw on my leverage screen that the price was starting to tip over. And I'm like, oh god, this sucks, because I was already heavy in on a trade that I couldn't really add to the trade, and it wouldn't have been good to do it anyway.
Could you have
And I
lost
ended up,
more
and
than
it,
what you had, or can you only lose what you had?
you can only lose what you put in the pool. So like if whatever, in that case, I lost that trade had probably $1,600 in it or something. I think I closed the trade for a 50% loss, so I ended up losing like $700-800 on that trade, which you got to think of it in percentage terms. So that was like 30% of the account, or
Right.
more than that. It was like 50% of the account gone, or no, 30% of the account gone. And so like that means that you have less. So then what that means is that you're going to have to trade faster to get back what you had. And that's the problem that traders fall into, is then or noobish traders, they just keep chasing those the quick gains rather than slowly building up the account and knowing when to take an L early. That was the big thing. I learned a lot about the 7 deadly sins just from trading 100x leverage.
I can imagine. Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Wow. I did.
Yeah, then the big payday happens, and here I am, dude. I loaded up, man. I converted all my. I took a little distribution on a 401k from my day job, and I think it was like $3,000. This was about a month after the liquidation of that account, and I against everyone's recommendation, I did that. And I bought Bitcoin at like 14,000. Rode it to 30,000, flipped it for ETH, and then also I was adding ETH from like 250, and rode both Bitcoin and ETH all the way up through their bull cycle, and then was flipping them into Hex somewhere between November, December, and January.
Awesome.
I capitulated completely into Hex. Yeah.
Great to
Yeah,
hear.
man.
Good man. Good timing with everything. I know it didn't start out the way you wanted, but sounds like it finished off pretty well, though.
Yeah, man, it's
Cool.
been a freaking journey for sure. Just getting started.
So someone had a question on, did we say earlier we foresee a 50% drop? I don't think we said that. I know Axis was saying he's waiting for a buying opportunity, perhaps in Pulse. But I don't think, Axis, you said anything about EHEX or PX dropping 50% for any particular reason, did you?
No, I didn't. No, I don't think.
Yeah.
I think PX is in
Oh,
unique
you know what? You did say spike down to
position
5 cents,
for
right? Or was
what's
that
going to
Pulse?
happen with its price.
I think you said, yeah, you did say Hex.
I was talking about Pulse. I was talking about Pulse basically being like the token that gets like used and abused for the first like few months. Like it's going to go through some wild price volatility on the premise that people will be looking to get into other opportunities early. So they'll be willing to dump their Pulse early.
It's a good point.
I just,
What do you think, because of ETH 2.0
I don't know,
in
man.
December?
ETH 2.0?
In December? Is that what you're thinking? Not the London fork. What's the next one coming up?
I think this puts pressure on Ethereum to have to move now, but whether it comes out or not, no one could really know. I know that we got into that conversation about what's going to happen to the miners when that happens on Ethereum, and that's a sticky conversation. But I mean, just to kind of go over that again, I think you're gonna have a lot of angry miners that where are they gonna go? They're gonna have to find a new chain that they're gonna have to mine because they got stuff that has to get paid off. So they're either gonna keep the ETH 1.0 network alive, or they're gonna find another chain to run their GPUs on.
What are
Or
the
they'll create a
options
new
for that?
token.
What are the options for mining equipment that they have to mine different coins?
There's not very many. There's a few.
Couldn't they mine Monero?
Anything that runs ETH hash. Anything that runs ETH hash, you could run an Ethereum ASIC miner on. ASIC miner is just a very specific type of chip that can only do one function, versus like a graphics card, which can process data of all sorts.
Oh wow, I didn't realize that.
The ASIC, that's the unique thing about Bitcoin mining in particular, and also some ETH mining, is these ASIC machines, they only do one thing. So like they're really only as good as a brick to some point. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like if they become out of their profitability range, they're just a hunk of metal. It's crazy. Wow. So in the case of these GPUs, they can actually be used to mine multiple algorithms. So in the case of Ethash, let me see if I can pull something up. I haven't looked at this in a minute, but I know there's altcoins that you could mine. That there's really nothing like Ethereum though. You know what I mean? That has that big of a mining economy behind it that miners would want to get behind. You know, so they might need to come up with something new. I don't know.
What do you
Could
what do
definitely
you
go
ever,
back and mine ETH Classic. You know,
Yeah,
they could do that.
yeah. That one I was thinking about before. I was
There's
just wondering, like, if there's anything that's
there's other
substantially
coins like
respected in the
little.
market.
Yeah, I mean, there's just not a lot of other. ETH is it, man. For as far as like altcoin mining, ETH is it.
Okay.
And beyond that, it's just the profits just they dwindle off quickly at that point. There's other algorithms that you could run with your GPU, like the Z Classic algorithm or the Monero algorithm, stuff like that. There's like other algorithms that you could run other tokens that are not the ETH hash algorithm, but that's not true in the case of the ASIC miners. Those miners, those types of miners can only run ETH hash. So,
What do you think? Have you ever discussed with anybody that we talked about maybe Eric and Richard being friendlier than maybe perhaps a lot think, like a sort of controlled opposition position. You ever think about the relationship between Vitalik and Richard being a lot more than what meets the eye?
yeah, definitely. I've thought about it. I've thought about that maybe they don't talk every day, but that they're both well aware of what each one's doing, and they make decisions based on they have to. Like there's no doubt that Vitalik knew that increasing S load price was going to affect Richard's project. How could you not? It's because Hex is the number 4 most popular used product on Ethereum. How could you not know?
What would be funny is to hear like a full blown
Talk
Ethereum
between them two.
maximalist. Well, no, just
Oh.
like someone that loves Ethereum but also loves Hex, and then could give us this perspective from like inside the Ethereum network why the S load was picked to do this. Like, was there any other projects that it also?
Yeah, it definitely affected a lot of projects.
So
Yeah,
what
it
was the
wasn't just
goal
Hex.
though? Do you think it was? I guess I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth because I'm saying there's
Yeah.
perhaps a chance that Richard and Vitalik are somewhat a team in all this, and then at the same
Well,
time, I'm
you
also
know,
saying,
I do think that's like they're not. It's inadvertent. I think that Pulse being created is not a choice that Vitalik could have made
right,
himself.
exactly,
But I think he respects that Richard's trying to help him out that way by creating a bridge to another chain that can, kind of help with some of the network load when things get spicy.
yeah,
There's definitely like a speculative side of it too. Like where was Richard when Binance did their thing? Where was he then? Like people could say that about him. Like why wasn't this built before if he knew that, but we didn't know about S load getting increased. We didn't know about
right,
that.
right.
So there was certain motivations that weren't there yet, but I do know that I do have a strong intuition that they both are aware of what each other's doing, and I think they both appreciate each other's work. So whether that's a actual like something that they talk about, I don't know. Probably not. They're probably both busy.
Yeah, I put myself in Richard's shoes. I feel like he's one of my boys growing up. Like that's why I gravitated towards him. Right, like he fits into like our group of friends. Like I know guys like Richard, and I love them. They're my friends, and if I was Richard and I saw somebody like Vitalik come around, like maybe kind of take him under your wing a little bit. He's like so socially awkward, but he's brilliant, changing the world. The opposite of what Richard is, introverted, where Richard's extroverted.
Mm-hmm.
I think like if I was Richard, I would take a liking to Vitalik, and I would just kind of help him out somehow in some way, and I could see a
Yeah,
mutually beneficial relationship.
they would be a good team,
Yeah, for
and I
sure.
think that's kind of inevitably what's happening. because they both have a lot of the same interests with like the Sens Foundation and longevity research, and they're both now in the Ethereum ecosystem heavily. There's just a lot of they're both doing a lot of the same work.
Yeah.
They just have two different ways of solving the problem. And I think,
Yeah.
Richard's coming from a more economics perspective and marketing perspective, and Vitalik's coming from pure passion and technical perspective.
Yeah. What an
And I don't really
outstanding
think
combination.
if I was Vitalik, I would feel like obligated, like I'm sitting here, been given all this responsibility to make sure this network keeps going. And you got to think that there's days where he just really wishes he could probably walk away from it all. You know what I mean? I'm talking
Yeah,
about
for sure.
Vitalik.
Yeah, because it's not what he envisioned. It's not. He's not able to control everything anymore. So this invention is now, run rampant beyond where he can really make changes, make updates, and now they're at the mercy of the miners. So, I like a dramatic story, a backstory, some behind the scenes, some conspiracy. And at the same time, like it's also business too. You don't put all your cards on the table. We don't know who has relationships with who. So I just think if they don't have a really great base of a relationship now, that I'd love to see in the future them to,
Me
work
too.
on
I
work
100%
on
support
things.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. And it makes sense too. It's not like you're asking these guys that don't get along to mesh. It seems like they're complementary, to a T.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And to that point, I don't think there's a lot of um, I don't think there's a lot of animosity amongst crypto communities like it looks like there is, except in the case of some Bitcoin maxis who really feel like personally threatened by other coins or other people. And I can kind of see that, but I can also see a world where we're all using different tokenized assets. So you can denominate it in Bitcoin at $1 million Bitcoin. It's fine. Yeah, I'll let you do that too. You can have that too.
right.
You know what I mean? Like, there's plenty of room to grow. So I don't think anyone should feel threatened, but I don't really think there's as much toxicity and hatred towards these projects, especially with Hex, guys. I don't really think Hex is hated. It's just unknown or misunderstood. A lot of the real true hate has either sold their coins out of the market or has flooded themselves out of their situation by this point. So we're in control right now. We're in the driver's seat, and Hex is going to do what Hex does. It's mathematically programmed to do.
Axis,
We just have to
go ahead.
go ahead.
I got a question for you just regarding the space that we're in right now with Pulse. Not to name any names of projects or hexagons in our space, but there are some hexagons wanting to utilize the Pulse chain for a new project for themselves or a group of them. And I know that scams can come out of the woodwork, and I know not your keys, not your crypto. I also know that Richard has taught us a tremendous amount, and I'm inspired myself. Now, I don't have a DApp or a coin to release, but there's a lot of things like I'm thinking about with different members of the community, and I'm just curious, what's your perspective on this opportunity that exists right now? As a hexagon, why would any of us do anything other than just buy and stake hex, right? Like,
Mhm.
is there an opportunity that exists beyond that on this Pulse chain that we should start collaborating, start, creating these different projects, or should we just put our funds in hex?
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a great question. Um, so the way I answer this is twofold. Like, if you don't have like a business adventure that you've been thinking about for a while that you really want to do because it's for you, you're not going to beat the gains that you can make in Hex, period. Especially pre-fork, because you're getting double the coins and double the exposure. So in my eyes, there's really not a lot of incentive for someone to come along and create a new token that's just a cryptocurrency type token. I think we've already kind of got that store of value cryptocurrency thing figured out now with the hex or with Bitcoin. You can, or with even Ethereum can solve that. But like that doesn't mean we shouldn't be focused on maybe like we are called to do something bigger. I think that's more about what you're called to do as an individual than anything. 'Cause you're gonna have the resources if the way I say is like if your option is to put all that off for a year, any kind of big business venture to just get exposure to the massive run up on Hex through its expansion wave, then I think that that's totally justifiable.
Right.
And I think that's actually probably more responsible because you're actually going to be able to have capital then to do more in the future. So if anything, you should be playing the long game, trying to get more exposure in these ecosystems that are live and working. And then as far as like what you want to build, like there's all kinds of cool things you could probably build on Pulse Chain that you could not build on Ethereum because of the gas price. And so I would encourage people to try new ideas out and try to see what ideas get traction and which ones don't. I'm all for that, and I'm all for promoting like cool ideas and cool projects. Just understand that if you're creating something, you need to be open to criticisms because there's a lot of overlap in the crypto space with projects that they don't solve any real world problem. They're just rehashed on a rehashed idea that it was already existed, or they're just copy pasted code. So if you're in it to do that, just buy Hex and get ahead financially for yourself. Because then you're helping yourself and you're helping other people versus the other route, which would actually just be degradatory. You're spinning your wheels. I know in the other case. I'm for cool new project. I think we need more information on Pulse of what it's capable of, and I think I want developers already know how to code on Ethereum, so that's kind of going to stay the same anyway.
Yeah.
So there's probably devs out there with cool ideas already. You just gotta find the ones that you want to fund. I'm imagining that's kind of the angle you take. You're not trying to get into like coding yourself, are you?
No, certainly not. I have my best friend though is Hex Live. He's a back end developer, a computer programmer.
Okay.
So I can
And
do
then you're gonna
front
do
end.
like the front end stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we just
We never
love
got
like
into that, dude. We both do graphic design, man.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. We got a great inspiration in our community for that. It's like every day I wake up and I'm like, oh my God, this person's incredible. And I can filter a little bit of their artistic ways into myself. And some might call it copying or stealing, but like it's inspiration. You know what I mean? I want to be more like that person. So yeah, this is a great place to be a graphic designer. That's for sure. How long you been into that, Axis?
So it's funny that this is coming up last, but that's actually probably the thing I've been into the longest,
Oh, okay.
along with gaming. But I've probably been into graphic design since I was probably 14.
Cool.
13, 14. And when I was a sixth grader, there was this project in art class that they'd make you sit down and draw on this big poster board and a visualization of your future career. And my image that I always drew every year was the same image. It was always a computer monitor with a desktop computer with some notepads on the desk with like a keyboard and a mouse and some notes written on the notepad and like some cool, like it was like just an office desk. That's all it was.
Yeah.
And I don't think I really knew what I was drawing back then, but now I look around at my life now and I'm like, I'm
Wow.
doing exactly that, where I'm like, and on the screen I would have like these little icons on the drawing of the different programs that I'd be using. And I didn't even know what I was drawing, but I was just like, I had this, dream to be an animator or like a graphics guy or video games or something along those lines. And so I ended up teaching myself. I read a couple books and did some tutorials online, early on, just to like, how it is, like as a graphic designer, you have an idea of something you want to draw up. And then you need to figure out how to solve a problem to make something look a certain way. And then you basically just keep adding tools to your toolkit along the way over the years of different methods to get what you want done on the image.
Yeah, for sure. It's amazing
So it's just
how
been it's been a
like
progressive, just adding to the belt, you know, adding chains to the belt over the years.
yeah, it's cool like when you learn one of those breakthroughs, like when someone does something like how did they do that? And then you just play around with some settings, you know, the bevel, the inner shadow, the outer shadow, and you're like, oh my God, that's it. And then now you have it forever. You know how to do that. It's really cool. You know, um it's cool because we can make money from it, you know. So not only is it an artistic outlet, right, where I can express myself and I can do something that's fulfilling and I have passion for, but I can create something that somebody else can utilize in the marketplace. So that's what's really cool about you know, the hex
I've never
community in
felt
general.
so good. Exam, I'm the same way. What you're saying, man. I vibe with that 100%. Like
Yeah,
the Hex community has re-sparked my interest in getting and doing this kind of line of work because I do it on the side. I never did that as a full-time career job.
right. Me too.
Just always did freelance projects, but I've had more work than ever. Like it's been awesome. I love
That's
it.
awesome. Cool. Well, Axis, so we do got to get going. I want to thank you for joining us. I wish we had some more time, or for joining me, excuse me.
Yeah, thank you so much
Uh,
for inviting me on, man. It's been a very good and free-flowing conversation. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, brother. We got RG coming up in about 15 minutes with Discourse Syndicate Monday night. Thank you everybody for being here. There's a special week next week. I just want to give everyone a heads up. I did leave it open. I had a special guest, and we're going to postpone for a couple weeks after that. So I'm really looking forward to sharing that with everybody. It's another dream come true with me here in Hex to stream with this Hexagon. You know, I've streamed many times with him before, but never one on one. So I'm looking forward to that. But the date that I was kind of saving for him and I, he's got plans. So I do have like an open Monday night next Monday night, and I would like to invite, I think, all of my previous guests. You know, just stop in and say hi if we can, and sort of just have a XO Joe hangout on Monday night, next Monday night before the Discourse Syndicate. The reason is it'll be August 16th. On August 17th is when I bought my first $100 worth of Hex, and I staked it out for 5,555 days. So
Let's
it's
go.
my last day in my first year, you know, and I'd love to share it with everybody. So Axis, you're certainly invited. And anybody else that's been on Joe Exotic, XO Joe, Experience, Strength, and Hope, you know, here's an open invitation, and I'll reach out to everybody as well behind the scenes. Axis, again, thank you for joining me tonight, and I just want to say good
Yeah,
night to
thanks for setting
everybody.
this up, man. I really appreciate it, and I think you're doing a good service for a lot of people just to
Thanks,
get
brother.
awareness out there on all this. So, thank you.
Thank you. All right, everyone, take care. Have a good night.